All right. Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome to this special event for only Pro and Better Plus members. We still have many individuals coming in as we speak. So, if someone's joining late at this point, then next time put it in your darn calendar and don't wait for us to text you. No, I'm just kidding. My name is Curtis Johnson, and I am the. Sorry, we've got a chat here that's concerning. Let me just make sure. Accepting new accounts. Jet, take note of what Kevin said. See if we can get him help. My name is Curtis Johnson, and I am the president of Better. And this is a special event for us in both senses of the word. It is a special event. But it's also kind of special for us, and we'll get to a little bit more of that in just a second here. But this is a time when I think a lot of people start to reflect on. Starts with Thanksgiving. They start to reflect on things they're grateful for. Goes into the holidays, and it's a time of spending quality moments with loved ones, friends, family. It kind of culminates with building out, obviously, your plan going into the next year. And I want to touch on a couple things before I bring in, obviously, the man who's going to share all the true wisdom with you here today. But I wanted to share with you a couple thoughts and a couple just things to think with while you're going through this, because I'm going to make sure to make it so Jeff can focus on the things that are most important, which is the really special method with which he goes through, month after month, year after year, to build something quite magnificent for his life. But I want to touch on a couple points so he doesn't really have to. The first of these is really to reflect on the last year you've had here with us in Better. Part of that is going to obviously be looking at the things that you did right and maybe some of the changes you'd like to make going into this next year. And I want to highlight a couple pieces for really that second half, which is going into this next year, what are some things that you should maybe be considering? And I think in order to really touch on that more effectively, what I'd like to do is remind everyone newly, really, what are we all about in Better? How does living life on purpose fit, really hand in glove with what we're all about? And then, really culminate and look at what are some strategies you can use going forward. And I'm not going to take more than a minute or two of your time, and then we're going to get to, the real value here, which is Jeff. But I think many people on this call, I definitely am looking over the participants, the guest list here, and people that I see that are on this call right now. And I see a lot of names that were with us almost, I would say it's probably 2.5 years ago at this point, that were with us at the very beginning of Better and with us at the launch event in Alpharetta, Georgia. And many of you experienced something that, felt very magical. But I can attest, and many of you can attest, at the very beginning, we were just barely trying to figure out, how to deal with the mass volume that you were all bringing in, let alone really starting to understand, okay, what is Better all about as a company? What is the culture of Better? What do we stand for? Who do we also service? And I think we've had different product partners in that journey that made that maybe a little bit more murky. But I feel like many people here have communicated this to me, and I know because I work with many of you very closely on a week-to-week basis, that Better is really starting to find its own footing and really seeing its place in this marketplace and what we really provide. Excuse me. And for anyone who is maybe sitting there, maybe you just got signed back up because you paid for Better Plus or Better Pro, and you're paying that $5 or that 15, knowing in your heart of hearts that you're really only doing it just to be on this call, which, don't get me wrong, I totally understand. I would pay $15,000 to be able to spend a couple hours with Jeff Levitan and understand the secrets of his planning, let alone $5 to $15. So many of us would pay tens of thousands of dollars to be able to get, one-on-one time to be able to work with him on these very topics. And I understand some of you are just paying that one time and you're intending to, not keep going on. But I also know that many of you are going to hear the wisdom of Jeff and understand some of the concepts even that I'm going to talk about here and that we'll sprinkle on throughout the rest of this training. And you'll be able to see that, hey, better is much more something that fits exactly perfectly into my system as a business owner. And that's something that I really value. And, maybe let's dive in on this newly and with what Better is focused on now. So for anyone who's new, what are the two things mainly that I would say Better is focused on? It's really helping people smoothly enter the financial services world is one part of it, and then also beautifully service individuals who are already in Better. How are we servicing them? Really, we're giving you tools, resources, but obviously partners and products that you can use in your existing operations as a financial pro. You probably more than likely sit down with someone and your mainline product might be life insurance, or maybe you're an investment advisor. Somewhere, somehow you're helping someone with their financial picture and you're going through some kind of an assessment and you're looking at, okay, I'd like to help them reach their retirement goals maybe. And in that process, obviously, you might be working with how much cash flow can they comfortably put toward reaching their goals in retirement. And doing that, obviously, you're going to be looking at where does their money go? What are they spending money on? Is it debt? Are they spending ridiculously on consumer items that maybe fill a void of pleasure but isn't really helping reach long-term happiness? Are they, like I said, in debt? Maybe they're spending a lot on healthcare, but yet weirdly they sit there feeling like they don't get great value from the coverage they have. They're paying, they feel like they know they're paying too much, but they just don't have solutions at their fingertips. Maybe you're talking to them about also, hey, they're doing very well. And they're going, hey, do you have strategies that can help me reduce my taxation? Because I know I'm paying just way too freaking much. And they know that some of these things are problems. Well, the great thing is Better helps you add those seamlessly into your existing operations. But what we're seeing happen now, because we've gone down the road decently, and some of you have had a very good open enrollment, for instance, on the health side. And some of you are sitting there going, hey, this isn't what I expected. I'm closing a lot of deals. I'm helping a lot of my clients. And it almost feels like maybe health might be my new main focus. And I know this because I've had this conversation with quite a number of you. Some of you have business coming in that will make you multiple five figures a month residual. And you're sitting there going, wow, this is absolutely amazing. I might be able to, for some of you, maybe it's, I might be able to transition from going nowhere, 9 to 5 job, helping make someone else's dreams come true as a business owner while you barely get along paying your bills. Some of you might be looking at that going, whoa, I can actually escape that and start to build something that is truly my own. While some of you, like we've been talking about, are looking at this going, hey, that's really interesting. I can now make 20% more money than I was making before for every client I sit down with. And on top of that, I'm servicing them better. I'm giving them more of what they need. They're leaving happier because I'm helping them with maybe their kids just finished college and they're kind of struggling with student loans. And I just help them handle that because they graduated and now they don't have the payments they had before. All of a sudden, they're getting a little bit more out of debt. I think a lot of you understand this picture, and some of you are going to get to understand that as you're looking at what is my 2025 going to look like. Well, for some of you, we want you to understand that this is something that you can use to make some of your goals going into this next year come true a little bit faster or a little bit more effectively, or in a way where you all of a sudden have multiple streams of income by sitting with just one client. Maybe you're in the insurance industry and you're looking for ways that you can attract your new client. And I'm going to give you this as just a last little analogy on this, or a last little anecdote more, and then I'm going to bring on, Jeff, and he's going to dive into everything. But I want to just give you this as an idea. to use as you're planning out your year and building out what is 25 going to look like for me. There are multiple people who have done this, but I can give you my own personal example. Like many of you, I'm in the financial industry as well, and I had an opportunity to. I was sitting with a number of individuals I didn't really know very well, but I was starting to get to know them. It was a church event, and I was talking to people, and like everyone, people inevitably go, "Hey, what do you do?" And here's where most people fall down, and I know this is the case with even some of you. Some of you think, oh my goodness, I must explain everything about better and it all has to come out beautifully. But I can't leave any gaps in there. And I don't want to say that I only do health or I only do debt, but then I also have my main thing and you kind of word explode. And you just try and tell them everything about your business all in one go. So my challenge to you, and one thing that I suggest you strongly suggest you do, is find a very short and concise sentence that expresses what you do in a way that creates curiosity. So I happen to mention to them that I sit down with individuals and help them work out ways to decrease their taxes in their current year while also setting up their retirement with solutions that also are free from taxation and also free from loss. And that's enough for someone who's not, in the know. We kind of take for granted what we know, but someone who is making good money is going to look at that, go, I want to pay less in taxes. I want to have a retirement where I'm not worried about a down year. And that intrigued this one particular person I was talking to. Her and I went to grab coffee a couple days later, and she connected me with a client and described me as a tax ninja. And it was very incorrect. I know nothing about being a ninja of any way, shape, or form. And let's be honest, I work with tax professionals, but either way, she introduced me to a client. I was able to sit down with her, got a good idea of her picture as a business owner, and I would have never talked to this client if I hadn't, been really entrenched, obviously, with some of these better partnerships, right? Obviously, many of you know I'm talking about prosperity tax advisors, but in this case, this client decided to go forward with prosperity tax and saved $130,000 on her taxes. She then took that savings and turned that around and put it into an investment grade insurance product with me. And many of you are kind of sitting there doing the math, and I'll let you all do the math on your own of what a commission would look like. But for her, think about it. She was able to save 130 grand and start funding for retirement all in the same go with her savings that she got. And this is something many of you have available at your fingertips too. So not only did obviously that was obviously a great unexpected referral from a newfound friend, because one, I had something to say that was intriguing, and I had a service that really filled a need for a specific audience. So I want most of you to look at it from that perspective and realize that some of these are things that if you're new and better, you're just hearing about some of these concepts and what better is now, newly for the first time. For some of you, this is brand new, and I don't expect you to learn that right now. But what I then want you to think with is better should be a very strong part of your 2025, because there is nothing about me that is special or unique that you can't do exactly the same thing. You can very much learn and write down a very short little explanation of something that's unique that you bring to the table that someone can understand easily. And that's what we help you with also within Better. So we'll help you with the training. We'll help you dive in on the right words and all of these things. So I want you to understand you're about to hear from an absolute master when it comes to planning. And obviously someone who did it by doing exactly what most of you want to do in your life as well. I'm just going to guess that 90% of you want to do it even in the exact same industry that he did it in. So we are talking about someone who did exactly what you want, has more than likely the kind of lifestyle that many of you literally dream of. He is someone who has built a life of just absolute freedom. Think about it. If you had a 9-figure net worth, what would that give you the freedom to do? And I want you to dream for a second, and he will touch on this in a greater capacity. So just don't take notes on this. Just think about it for half a second. What would you do if you had that level of freedom? If you had, a family that you never had to worry about, cutting back what you had to give them. This individual has done every bit of that. He's philanthropic. He has a children's charity. He has, many people who, would pay thousands of dollars an hour to be able to sit with him and understand it. And because you're in better, you have access to him. I wouldn't say it's not free, but hey, the cost of a coffee, that's pretty darn close to free, especially for you to have an opportunity to build a multiple five, multiple six, multiple seven-figure residual income with a company like Clearwater with Better. There's so much here. So I want you all to, I would say give a round of applause if we're all in person, but I know you will be doing that on your muted end as well. But I'd like to bring up none other than Mr. Jeff Levitan. Jeffrey, hello, sir.
All right. Hey, thank you, Curtis, and thank you for that explanation and warm up for everybody
Absolutely.
here. And you're a good example of somebody who's been leveraging all the products and services and trainings to you've unlocked the formula for how to use this to build your business, to serve people and to make a greater income for yourself. There's a lot of tools, there's a lot of different pieces, but you got to know, just like cooking, and it's that time of season where probably even people that don't cook are starting to. And you need to know it's not just which ingredients, it's which order to cook them in, what to go first, second, third, what temperature to cook at. And so that's what your trainings are doing for everybody. So thank you so much for that, Curtis. Everybody else on the call, thank you for being on tonight. I appreciate your time. I'm taking a little bit of time out of my pregame. Truth be told, I personally have not gotten out and gotten Christmas shopping done yet. I don't know if there's any other people out there that are as bad as I am. Luckily, I've given resources to other people to help with that. But I still need to get my hands dirty and roll up my sleeves and do a little bit of that. And we're getting down to the wire. I know that much. So um, I'm in the same boat as most of you, but I believe that this time of year, we need to reflect on 2024, look forward into our futures, and decide how it's going and decide what we might want differently to happen going forward in our lives. And I've got a program in a class called Living Life on Purpose. Some of you have seen it before and some of you haven't. And I want to start just by asking you a question, just a basic question. How's your life going? If you took a snapshot right now, you look at your age, you look at where you're at, and you measure every type of metrics you can. A lot of people think money, right? That's the first one that sometimes comes to mind. But think about some other things too. Think about your health, think about your relationships, think about your spirituality, think about your business accomplishments, think about your personal development accomplishments, your education level, your experiences in life. And you take a look at all of it. And how are you doing? How's it going? Are you where you thought you'd be? Are you further than you thought you'd be? Are you further behind playing catch up? I talk to a lot of people every day like you do. I do get into the heavy questioning pretty early in relationships, and I ask, and more people aren't where they thought they'd be than are further than they thought they'd be. I mean, you could imagine that. And then the hard question comes in. Well, okay, so you're not where you thought you'd be. Why? You just ask that one painful question. And you could ask it to anybody at any time. And you just say, well, why? Why aren't you where you thought you'd be by now? And some people hadn't given it a lot of thought. And some people gave it a lot of thought. And there is a difference between knowing where you want to go and not knowing even where you want to go. Having goals and not having goals. Having a plan and not having plans. Controlling the speed that you work at every day in your grind or not really grinding at all. It creates differences in the outcomes. And you could be the judge of whether it's good or bad, but we all know it's different. We all know that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day, and some people take those 24 hours and accomplish tons with that time. And then there's a lot of people who take that same 24 hours and every way you slice it and dice it and look, it doesn't seem like they've accomplished much with it. Like a lot of the time maybe was squandered and wasted. And so I came up with a program for myself. This is a very personal thing to me. And that's why I'm sharing it with you today. And it's not, I could be on tour. I could be Tony Robbins or one of these guys out there, Grant Cardone, and be selling my course and selling my plan. And people have offered to write books on it and put me out there, but I don't want to. I've chosen not to because these goals are for me having the life that I want to have. And believe it or not, traveling all over the world and being on stages is not in my goals. It's just not one of the things I want to do. I've done it a little bit, but I've done it out of necessity for people that work for me or with me. And it was a way for me to pour into them so that they could have a better experience or a more successful experience. But to do it as a standalone business, I just personally chose not to. And it's not a right or wrong decision. But it's very intentional. And what you'll find is that when you have big goals and you know what you're going for, you don't do a lot of things unintentionally. A lot of the things you do have great planning behind them and great intention. So I started this, and I'll give you a quick little history and then I'm going to jump right in. I started this planning process back in 1995 and 96. So I know there's some people on this call that weren't even born then. It's unfortunate, but I'm starting to find out how old I am when I meet people, and I had accomplished things and did things before they were born. If you're over 50 or over 60 or 70, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And and but at the age of 24, I that's a lot of years to be alive. I did go to college and I got a bachelor's degree and I did work a lot of jobs. But at that point, in the achievement category, I had a net worth of probably minus $40,000. I had student loans, credit card debt, a car note. I had built up a lot of debt at that stage, like a lot of people, and was just entering the workforce and really starting to figure out how I was going to pay off that debt and get ahead. I wasn't very accomplished, like most people at 24. And I was working on myself. And somebody directed me to and towards reading books, personal development. I did know that I needed mentors and mentorship. And when I went and sought out the mentors, I thought they would just reveal answers. They would tell me exactly how to get somewhere and exactly what to do. And unfortunately, a lot of my questions were answered with questions. And a lot of the questions I had, how to do things and achieve things, I was sent to go read a book about that or to go look it up and go take the journey of discovery. And it made me so mad. I got to tell you, for a guy who really didn't like to read very much, being sent to go read books all the time was not really what I wanted to do. I just wanted the answer. Give me the cliff notes. Give me the quick and dirty and let me get on with it. But the good news was, as I started to consume some of these books, a lot of them were on tape. I'm an audio learner. So I started getting books on tape and I listened to book after book after book, and I couldn't get enough. I was a sponge. And I started working on myself. You want things to change in your life. A lot of you, if you're not happy with who you are or where you are, start self-developing and improving. Immediately, you'll see results. Immediately. Well, the more books I read and the more people I associated with and the things I started working on, I put into action. And I started setting goals. This was back in 1995 and 1996. I think at the end of 95, beginning of 96, more than a wish, more than a dream, more than a New Year's resolution, I sat down and started writing down some goals. And my life started changing very dramatically. And I went to more seminars and more courses on this subject matter, read books on it, and I took bits and pieces. I didn't like all of it from everybody. I took the pieces that worked for me. And I hope you would do that tonight as we go through this. Take the pieces that work for you. And if something doesn't jive with your personality or your style, then don't do it. Any improvement in any area will make a difference. And I invite you tonight to just look at what areas you can improve on from my whole course. So I started doing this and my life changed very dramatically. The next year I made $146,000 because I had some goals written down. And I got out of debt. The next year, I made $262,000. This was 1997 when that was a lot of money. The year after that, I made over $400,000. The year after that, I made over six. And then the year after that, I was 29 years old. It was the year was 2000. I made $110,000 in a month, was saving a ton of money. I knew how to invest because that was the business I chose. And the markets were good at the end of the 90s. And I had over $1 million saved. So I went from having a negative net worth. I can't say I was miserable or unhappy, but I was certainly unaccomplished. And 5 short years later, with this methodology, I was a seven-figure earner. I had a seven-figure balance in my investment accounts. In my mind, I was accomplished. I had built a tremendous business. I had lots of friends. My relationships were solid, and I felt like I was directing my life. And I thought, wow, this was incredible. And you know what happened? People started asking me, how did you do it? How did you do it? What changed? I'd run into old friends. They'd be like, Jeff, I know you. I knew you from college. I knew you from high school, my own family, my parents. Man, what happened to you? Like, what are you doing? And I had to explain it to them. And then I showed them my method in my book. And most of them were like snoozing by the end of it because it was a long process. You might be snoozing by the end of this call today. I might not be able to keep you so excited. They say the attention span because of COVID has shrunk down. And that's why most of these videos on social media are 30 seconds or less, because that's the attention span of most people. So here I go into this course that's going to be over an hour long, a lot of slides. And if you're snoozing, I won't take it personal. Just shut your camera off. And so I don't feel too bad watching you snore, and maybe shut your mic off so we don't hear you. If you're awake, well, pay attention, grab a notepad. At the end of this, I'll give you some of the forms that I use. I'm going to give them to you. Could I charge for it? Sure. I could probably make a ton of money doing this. That's not why I'm doing it tonight. I am doing it to help you come up with a few strategies to improve your life. And so hang in there with me tonight. I started telling people about the class when they asked me, or it wasn't a class. I just told them my method, and it took an hour or so. And then they said, tell my friend. And that was another hour. Tell my friend. It was not, I'm like, I'm going to put it in a PowerPoint and start sharing this in a group setting so that I don't have to do onesie twosies. Not that I mind it, but I just don't have the time to get it out to as many people as I'd like to share it with. Some of the ideas are mine and some aren't. I've borrowed some great ideas from a lot of great people to put this together, but I'm going to share the mindset first, and then I'm going to get into actual course. So hang in there with me, everybody, and I'm going to pull this up on the screen. Hopefully you can all see it. Can everybody see that on your screen?
Yes.
Looks good,
Yes.
Jeff.
Hopefully you
Yes.
can. Great. Thank you, everybody. So living life on purpose. Um, One of the smartest people to walk the face of the earth, Albert Einstein, said this, and I think it's very important when you understand it. He said, the most significant challenges that we face cannot be solved at the level of thinking we were at when we created them. And I have a question for you all, just by show of hands, real quick. How many of you have challenges in your life or have had significant challenges? Can I see by show of hands? Well, I don't know anybody. I don't know that I've ever met anybody that hasn't had challenges in their life. But they say that they can't be solved at the level of thinking we were at when we created them, which makes me think we created them. So a lot of the significant challenges in our life, and I know we like to lay blame on other people and be a victim, but really, this says that we had a hand in creating our own problem somehow. And then if we're going to change it, the first place we change it is the thinking, not the doing, the thinking level. So as I've mentored people since I understood this quote, everything I do when I coach, everything I do when I mentor, everything I do even with clients I meet that I'm trying to work on with their finances is I try to work on their level of thinking and the way that they see things. Because if in fact they can see things differently than they're used to seeing them, well, everything can change then. And then the thought process is where it originates, and then it changes what they do and the action they take, and then it changes their situation and their result on the back end. So Let's go ahead and jump into some of the best things ever said on goal setting. There was a retailer, James Cash Penny, said long range goals keep you from being frustrated by your short term failures. One of the things I notice is some people walk around very frustrated. Man, they just feel like a loser. They feel like they can't win at anything. Well, having these big goals help you get through that frustration from the short term failures. You understand it's just part of the process. In the absence of these clearly defined goals, we become strangely loyal to daily acts of trivia. Some people have very busy days but don't accomplish much. You look at a hamster on a wheel, there's no doubt that they're exerting effort and energy. They just happen to not be going anywhere. Well, a lot of people live their lives that way. They get up and they go through their motions, but they're not also getting anywhere. Success is the progressive realization of predetermined, worthwhile personal goals. So there's just so many great quotes on this. If you're bored with life, you don't have enough goals. All these great quotes. Goals are dreams with deadlines. Without goals and plans to reach them, you're like a ship that sets sail with no destination. Um, the secret to this is clearly defined goals, writing them down, focusing on them several times a day, words, pictures, emotions, as if they've already been achieved. Takes just as much energy to wish as it does to plan. Eleanor Roosevelt. And then if all you do are see the problems, I know a lot of people in my life, and you may know some too, that for every solution, they have a problem. Have you ever noticed that? There's problem solvers. For every problem, they come up with a solution. But there's the flip side. There's people, every time you have a goal, every time you want to go do something, they tell you why it isn't going to work, what the problems are. And that's what happens. When you don't have goals, all you see are the problems and obstacles. The late, great Ronald Reagan said, my philosophy of life is just that if we make up our mind what we're going to make of our lives, and then we work hard towards that goal, we never lose. Somehow we win out. It's as simple as that. Discipline then becomes the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Once you write them all down, and by the way, I've had people over the years, they were my students, and they're people that, they want to impress me, and they've taken my course several times, and they man, their plans are beautiful. They type them up and they bind them in a book, sometimes a leather binder, and give me a copy and show me how beautiful it is. And I swear to God, they don't work on it at all after that. The whole point for them was creating this book, but then they put it on the shelf like it's a piece of artwork and they don't use it. It's supposed to be a functioning tool that you actually use every day to build your life and build your business. So look, when I started this, I sent my staff to my bookshelf and I said, go grab every book and look for references to goal setting. And look at all these books. Most of you have read these before somewhere. The Magic of Thinking Big, Millionaire's Secrets, 177 Mental Toughness, Purpose Driven Life, Rick Warren, Made in America, Sam Walton, Michael Jordan, everyone who's successful, their personal stories, their biographies, every single book on success has a reference to goal setting, paragraphs, maybe a whole chapter. And then, of course, there's entire books written on goal setting. So hopefully, many of you over the years have picked up and seen these in books. So obviously, if every book on success and becoming wealthy has references to goal setting, how in the world do you think you're going to end up being really successful and accomplished without setting goals? You just by the mere fact that you might not be setting your goals and reading them and following up on them may just be the very reason that you're not successful. It's your cause because you don't sit down and do this. So I saw that and I said, look, I'm gonna become a goal maniac. I'm gonna write down goals, check them all the time, check them off, rewrite them, and I made quite a serious commitment. And here I am. That was 19, and I'll share with you in here. It's been a lot of years. It's been almost 30 years of pure goal setting and resetting and following. And look, here's the mindset behind all of this. Have you ever seen wealthy people unhappy? The danger with this is if you just say, I just want to be rich, but you don't start with the end in mind, and you don't understand why you really want to be wealthy, well, you might actually achieve your goals and not be fulfilled. There's a lot of people that are at the top of their game. They're very powerful people. You've seen lately in politics. Doesn't matter which party you're in, people at the very top ruining their lives and ruining their families and it's a mess. But you would think if you were in politics, that's exactly where you'd want to be. All the way at the top. You'd want to be a governor, a senator, whatever the case might be. And some of those people have the worst lives ever. You've seen people that are rich or famous, they're rock stars, movie stars, and they're miserable. There's not a day that goes by that a CEO from a company doesn't get revealed for having done something horrible, and their whole life is ruined. So they're at the very top, but they're still not happy and fulfilled. So you've also seen accomplished people battle depression. You see some of the best comedians in the world. They're lonely and depressed. It doesn't make sense to most of us. How could that be? You seem so happy, you seem so joyful, and a lot of them just work on the outside, but they don't work so much on the inside. And so my belief around this is, from my studies, is that you shouldn't plan from here forward ever. And that's exactly what people do. They plan from where they sit right now and what they want to accomplish in 2025. They plan from right now and what they want to do next week, next month's goals, next quarter's goals. And you could do that and be successful. But what if, what if you took that path all the way down to the end and the pot of gold was not fulfillment? You got there and at the end you weren't fulfilled. That's the danger, is that you got to start with the end in mind and ask yourself the big questions and then work backwards. And then it ties in everything you're doing short term to accomplish the long term. You ever see roads like this? Man, all over the world, there's these roads, and some of them are up in the mountains, right? And what's crazy is when you see these roads, you get a couple thoughts in your mind. Boy, that would be fun in a sports car, this and that. But there's a lot of these type of roads that truck drivers carrying toxic waste and materials or precious cargo, school buses have to go down these roads and they have to go slow. They don't know what's around the next corner. They're going very slow. They're white knuckling it on the steering wheel. They're obviously just inches from dying at any moment if they go off the curb or the edge. And look, I see people in life that seem intelligent, likable, like good people, but they're not going anywhere fast. They seem to be very slow about achieving things. And I wonder why. In my leadership roles in my life, I always looked at this and I wondered, what's going on here? Why are these people that seem very talented and they say they've got big goals, why are they going so slow? Why aren't they achieving things on the daily and weekly basis? And I've come to find out that they don't have a clear path as to where they're going. Imagine this road compared to a drag strip. There's those safety cushions and pads on both sides of the drag strip or those water bottles. So in case those barrels of water, in case you go off the road or slip, it stops you somewhat safely on either side. And what do? They 3, 2, 1, and you press the pedal to the metal, you go full speed. And you're not so worried about this because you can see right out ahead of you. A deer is not going to walk in the middle of the road while you're up at 120 miles an hour. There's not some weird bend or turn that you can't see around. You get to go full speed. In my opinion, this is what goals do for you. If you've got great goals with much clarity on where it is you're going, you could go faster. It's that simple. You could go full speed ahead towards those goals and you seem to be accomplishing way more than most people. I believe the super high accomplishers in life and great super achievers know where they're going. That's the difference. I don't think necessarily they're always way more talented. They just have way more clarity on where it is they're going. Vince Lombardi says, I firmly believe any man's finest hour is the moment when they work their heart out in a good cause and then they lie exhausted on the field of battle victorious. So look, when you know what you're doing and when you know where you're going, you could give it your all. When you don't, you're usually holding back, whether you know it or not, and you're going at some reduced speed and you're nowhere near accomplishing what God made you to accomplish. So if you're going to start with the end in mind, take a look at this. I'm just going to jump right in here and we're going to go fast. You're not going to be able to do all of this, but what's the end of our life here? Look, I'm a Christian. I believe in eternal life. I'm not sure what your belief system is, but here on earth in this skin, in this body, I got one time around. And so the end is when I die. So if I'm going to start with the end in mind, I'm going to actually go in my planning, which sounds absurd, all the way to my deathbed. I don't know at this moment, I don't know when that'll be, but I'm going to ask myself the very difficult question. And this is the hardest part of the whole goal setting program. What do I want to be remembered for? What do I want my life to have entirely added up to? And the hardest thing to do is to decide that one thing. They say two of the greatest days of your life are the day you were born and the day you figure out why. Well, the sooner you could figure out why you were put here and you are special, and what you want to do, be, and have and accomplish is very important. But you got to decide what it is that you want to be remembered for here. Your one time, you have one purpose here. What is it? What would you like to accomplish with your life? And then write a eulogy. You know, a lot of people, they die accidentally. They're not ready. Their family's not ready for them to go. Maybe it was an accident, or maybe their life was cut short. Maybe you had a long life. But most people don't write their own eulogy and they leave it up to someone else who's mourning, who survived them, their spouse, their kids, whatever, to come up with a speech to say. And most people are horrible public speakers. It's one of the biggest fears in the world. And they have to get up in front of people and summate their parents' life or their loved one's existence. Don't you think the one thing that you really do own is your life and your choices? Shouldn't you decide what you want your life to add up to? Write it down. Write your own eulogy right now, at whatever age you are watching this. Write your own eulogy and decide what you want to be remembered for and how you want it to read. You could do a long one that's a book. You could do a short one that's a page or a few paragraphs. I shared a few of my paragraphs with you here on this. And also decide what makes you happy. You're going to start to drill down to, hey, I want a life of fulfillment. So if I know that, I need to know what I even like. What is it that you like? I've sat down with people who were in depression before. And I said, so I know we aren't going to be able to goal set because you're feeling pretty depressed right now. And I don't know if they were clinically depressed or not, but I just know they were battling some things. And I'm like, but what are some things you like? And I've seen with my own eyes and heard with my own ears people really struggling even to say what they like. Why? Because they're absolutely obsessed on what they don't want. They're absolutely obsessed on what they don't like. They're absolutely obsessed with how things have wronged them, other people, situations, and they play it over and over in their mind and reinforce all those negatives. And it's so hard to break out of it. Sometimes you just got to start with what you like. Sometimes you just have to start with what you want. And then you can grow in that. And then you start having bigger visions of what it is you want your life to be in your accomplishment. And then I got a little secret piece that you're not going to like, but I'm going to tell you anyway, is then you should date your eulogy as to when you want it read. And you might say, Jeff, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? How would you even know? Well, I noticed a couple things in my life so far, and I'm sure you've noticed these too. Let me just ask you a question and see if you've recognized this in your past. Have you ever Listen, have you ever heard of somebody who got the diagnosis from the doctor? You've got 6 weeks to live, 6 months to live. You aren't going to see next year. You won't see another birthday. But something in their life was very important, whether it was their kids graduating school, their child having a child, maybe a grandbaby was going to be born. They had some very, very important thing, and they beat all the odds. All of a sudden, that 6 months turned into 2 years, turned into 10 years. Or it was just amazing. Like the doctors look at the charts, they just can't believe it. How could this person still be alive? Well, explain that to me. If they didn't have this massive willpower and the willpower didn't have some effect on their ability to overcome the body mind connection, and they could actually extend their lives because they wanted to so bad. They willed it to happen so bad. And maybe their power of prayer and their belief system kept them alive so much longer than medical science said was reasonable. Have you heard of that before? Raise your hand on this call if you've ever heard of a story like that. Some of you may actually have experienced a story like that with somebody before. Raise your hand. Okay, good. Now, on the flip side, how many of you have seen a couple who were soulmates, married 40, 50, 60 years, and one spouse had cancer, a heart attack, and died, and the other spouse, who was actually very healthy, died shortly after, weeks after, a month after, and then they passed away? And you say, well, medically, why did they pass away? They were healthy. We understand why their partner passed away, their soulmate, but why did they pass? And people laugh and they go, oh, they died of a broken heart. Well, I don't know if the medical journal has a broken heart in there, but in my opinion, it's the same thing, but reverse. They don't want to live anymore. They will themselves to die. And of course they die because they want to go be with their loved one in their next life. And so if our mind is so strong that it could end our life like this or extend our life like this, what would that tell a logical person who's dating their eulogy? Well, if you like this life and you assume that you're going to get your goals together and get your life together and you're going to have a great life later, even if it's not so great now, you should assume that you're going to want to live longer. You're going to want to extend this out. And if you can engage that willpower and learn how to do that over time, imagine this for a minute. Just imagine that you're able to really stretch those years and have all those extra years of fulfillment, joy, accomplishment that you'd want because you understand things that most people don't understand. So I would say whatever the date is, push it way out there. And you say, but Jeff, the men in my family don't usually live past 70. Well, it's time to break the chains, break the curse, be the first one to be a centurion and live past 100, healthy and happy and still playing golf and exercising or bouncing your grandkids on your knee. This is happening all the time. You understand? There's a lot of people that are living long, healthy lives and they're happy and they usually have this stuff together, and that's part of the key to their success. There's a book out there called The Blue Zones. There's a Netflix special. There's a lot of factors in somebody living a lot longer, and you might want to look into that, and you could probably extend your life. Now, if you're miserable and you think it's always going to be miserable, you may just flip this script and end up shortening your life because you're not enjoying it. So be careful here. This stuff is powerful, and I want to challenge you. So this part of your goal setting it's not a science, it's an art. This is you just deciding what you want. And sometimes it's a hard thing. When you're in the creative mindset, though, and you start thinking, what do I want to be remembered for? What do I want to do? And I thought, well, one of the great things I could do with my life is save other lives. I've already helped other lives because I was a businessman and I was goal setting and I was helping people with their money and helping entrepreneurs into business. And I thought, man, this was coming off of my first retirement at age 30. I said, if I'm going to get back in work, it's not going to be for money because money isn't going to motivate me next time like it did last time. So I'm going to need something deeper. I'm going to need something with more meaning. And I thought, well, how about saving the lives of people who can't help themselves? Who's the most at risk in the world? And it's orphans in developing countries. Those are the most at risk people in the world. And I thought, why don't I start a charity? I don't know what I'm doing, but if I'm in my creative mode, why don't I start a charity that helps orphans in developing countries? And I started All for One, and it was directed at that. And we've saved, I don't know, I don't actually have an exact number, and you never understand and know the ripple effect, but I know we've saved hundreds of lives, thousands of futures, and it's just the ripple effect hasn't even kicked in. That was in the year 2000. We're 25 years almost down the road now. And these kids who grew up in some of these orphanages and we helped some of these children are now adults and they're giving back, making a difference and living prosperous lives. So that was one of the things that came for me out of being in a great space, thinking about what I want to be remembered for. The creation of Better, it wasn't the name at that time, that came much later, but hey, I was committed to helping people. And I thought, well, I want people to have a better life. This goal setting course is about having people have a better life. You get some good advice on things to do and things not to do, and you share it with people. You're helping people have a better life, better income, which you're seeing the business side. Curtis has really grabbed on to the better income platform, which is about making money, but better is much bigger than that. It was about just being part of a movement that is about helping your fellow man and your community and mankind. And you're just part of the solution and not part of the problem. And that's what it's all about. So if people get into it just to make money, that's fine, but that's not what it was created for. Um, so look, let's get into some of the key points of your eulogy. And you're going to get all these forms. I would take a pad and scribble some stuff down, but look, you're not going to come up with it tonight. Just my eulogy alone took me over a week. And we're talking 8 hours a day, writing it down, scribbling it out. The first five that I wrote sounded good. It was something you'd read in church. It's something if you died and your mom found your eulogy, she'd be proud of. But you know what? You know what I found out? It wasn't necessarily what made me happy. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted. A lot of people are still living for the to impress other people. They're still living to make other people proud of them, which I don't think anything's wrong with that. But you gotta put your this is your life more than anyone else in the world. You're going to be with you every day. And you got to decide what it is you really want. And then we break it down to these categories to give you a little bit of help in deciding this. There's goals. The easy ones are material goals. Oh, I want a Porsche 911. Oh, I want to live in that neighborhood. Oh, I want to do this. I want this net worth. I want this kind of income. Those are easy for most people. Business goals go along with that. I want to own a company. I want to be my own boss. I want to have a business. I want it to look like this, feel like this. This is what it would be fun to accomplish this in business. Personal development goals. I want to learn something, master something. I want to learn another language, play an instrument. I want to be in great shape. I want to master Tai Chi or yoga or be in a bodybuilding contest at 50. I don't know what it is, but personal development, it's your mind, it's your soul, it's your spirit, it's your body, it's you working on you. Social and family. These are your relationships, everybody. A lot of people take them for granted until they're injured. You know, a lot of relationships, if they're not going good, there's probably something you could do right now to make them better. And a lot of people just don't give them the attention that they need. And there's family goals. What are the goals for the family? And does the everyone needs their individual goals, but you might want to have some goals with your spouse, combined goals and family goals. You don't want to not have your own. By the way, just a little pro tip here, make sure you have it for both yourself and your family. And then contribution and faith. This is your give back, everyone. And some of you might think, Jeff, I don't have anything to give back. I am a charity case. How can I do charity work? Understood. But I will tell you, the sooner you can figure out that life's more about what you give than what you get, and the more you start giving, the more fulfilled you're going to be and happy. And you're going to find out that there's something called giver's gain. And the more you start doing for other people, the more you're going to have done for yourself. They say if you want more love in your life, give it out first. Um, a lot of times what you want in life, you have to give it first and then receive it. So you start thinking about what you want to be remembered for. You drop it down into a essay, and then you put it into these categories. Then you start to figure out how to backwards engineer this into actual goals and plans. Do you see at this point so far, and I hope you do, like we haven't even wrote down anything yet about what you want for 2025. And this is why most people don't stay on track. I've got a lot of friends over 30 years that have taken this class or that have done this with me or seen what I've done. And then I see them 10 years later and they say, you still doing that thing? You still want those goals? And I hate to say it, but I know they're jealous because they gave up on their goals or they were confused and didn't even know what they are. They have to think up new ones all the time because they're lost and they don't have the direction. I'm not trying to compete with anyone. This is about me having the life that I want because I only get one, but I also want to create it in the way that I want it to be. The best way to have the future you want is to create it. So, look, Dennis Waitley said the reason most people never reach their goals is they don't define them or ever seriously consider them as believable or achievable. Winners can tell you where they're going, what they plan to do along the way, and who will be sharing the adventure with them. So look, there's all different terms. I don't know how old you are on this call, but I'll bet there's some people on this call that are in their 70s. Well, I don't know how long you plan on living, but if you've got a lot of people say, is it worth goal setting? I'm already in my 70s. I don't have that much time left. Well, for you, your time is way more precious than somebody who's got all the time in the world. It's a scarcity thing. So, and look, if you take care of yourself right and you've got fulfillment and you're happy, you never know. There's a high likelihood that you might have 10, 20, 30 years left. Why would you not plan if you've got 10, 20, or 30 years left? You understand? Who plans more? The person with a finite amount of life left, well, 1 year left to live, 3 years left to live. How much planning are you going to do? Are you going to wing it? I'm going to sleep in tomorrow. You got 7 days left to live. You sleeping in tomorrow? Not if you don't have to. That's it. It's one of your last 7 days on earth. Like, do you understand? So, look, your long term, your vision and version of long term might be different. When I started doing this goal setting and I did it in real detail when I was 30, man, that was 24 years ago. I'm 54 years today. And long term was a long time ago. But guess what? I couldn't think at all of what I wanted at 55. I was 30. That was so far into the future. And I wake up and guess what? I'm within 12 months now. I'm in this, can I tell you a funny story? So I'm going to my kid's basketball game. He's in junior high. He's in sixth grade. And I'm at his basketball game and I'm checking in. And these snot-nosed kids that are taking the fee to get in, I was joking. I was with one of my buddies, Dan. And I'm like, hey, he's a child, so he's half price. And they go, ha ha, we know he's not, but we will give you the senior discount, sir. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, for that insult, I am going to pay half. And so I did. I paid the senior price. That was the first time, and that was a week ago. That was the first time in my whole life I got the senior citizen discount for anything. And it kind of felt good saving that money. I'll put it towards my retirement, but it also was a great reminder that man, time waits on nobody. So look, your goals might be long, short, mid, but you got to work on all of them. But you got to start from the end backwards. And this was the first goals I set. I was with a company back in 1996. It was called WMA. It doesn't exist anymore. And their securities, I had my securities license. I got my Series 6 and 63, and I wrote my first business goals. And this was them. I have a copy of it. Thank God I'm a hoarder. Who knew I'd be showing people? I mean, how many years ago was that? 20, 29 years ago? I did this. And the furthest out I could think was a year. So look, if you go through this whole thing today and all you could do is 20, 25 goals, fine. We'll work on you. And over the time, I'll do this again next year and a year after, and we'll stretch you out. But I did my goals for 97. This was at the end of 95, beginning of 96. I wrote these goals down. And my 1 year goals by January 97, because it was January 96, I wanted to be a national marketing director. I wanted to have a business that paid me 20,000 per month. I wanted to have a certain size business with a certain number of people going through. And then I thought, okay, well, I cut it in half and I said, where do I need to be in 6 months to be on track to be there in 1 year? And I wrote all those goals where I needed to be in 6 months. And then where I needed to be, I just took it all the way in 1 month. Where do I need to be by February to be on track to the 6 months, to be on track to the 1 year? And then what do I have to do every week? And it came down to every week, my goal was invite 1 to 2 personal people to check out my business. Invite me and my small little team to get 15 people a week to take a look. And then we would turn those people that took a look into business partners and clients. And that was it. I was going to personally do 5,000 of production a week, 4 sales per week, and run 10 appointments a week. That's the best I could come up with. And you know what I did? I followed that throughout the year. And some of the arrows are down, meaning I didn't hit it. Some of the arrows were up. I graded myself as I went. By the way, I took a copy of it and I gave it to my mentor. At that time, I said, here's what I'm planning on doing next year. And I didn't have all my goals in goal setting style set, but here's what I do know. Not one other person in his office of almost 100 people handed him their goals. They didn't, for some reason, they didn't think of it. But this kid who is at this time about 25 years old was thinking about that. What did that tell him? Here's what it told my mentor. This guy, which is me, is someone you ought to keep mentoring. This guy is a good investment. This person is taking this business seriously. This person is probably, out of everyone else, going to do something, and they've got plans. And so, look, he might have believed it, didn't believe it, but guess what? At the end of that year, so I gave him one at the beginning and I gave him my graded one at the end of the year and gave him my next goal for the next year. And I did it every single year from that point forward. And I went after it every year. Sometimes I hit the goals, sometimes I didn't, but this is how far, this is the origin story of this goal setting class. So here's some ideas for you. This is just going to help you write it down, think about it, jot down goals. As we're talking right now, there's no way at the end of this call today that you're going to have yours done. There's no way. This is the beginning, but it's supposed to plant seeds that'll germinate later over the weekend, next week, into the next year. Material. Here's some categories. When you die, you want to have a net worth of what? What do you want your net worth to be? What do you want your annual income to be? Where are some travel locations? And this could be in family and social too, but where are some places you want to travel to? Because a lot of times goals like that are material now are also experiences, but experiences that cost money. If you want to fly private, well, that costs money. If you want to take a trip and climb Mount Everest, you're going to have to pay the Sherpas and whatever the fee is to do one of these huge journeys, whatever the case might be, or you're going to need the time off of work to afford yourself the ability to go travel and have these experiences. So whether it's stuff or experiences, that's what goes in this category. So there's that goal. Businesses. What are your business goals? Do you want to own, build, control, be a big part of, climb the ladder of, become a senior executive in a small company, a big company, no company? Do you want to retire? Maybe in your business goal is to retire early, whatever that might be. Do you have a continuation plan for your business? Do you want to sit on the board or be on the board of directors and just help guide the business, but not do business, just guide it? Well, there's some business goals for you. Personal development, health, achieve mastery in what subjects and what ideas, what topics do you have interest in the first place? What are some things you just love? You know, when you scroll through either social media and follow something or you watch something online, there's so many people that have interest in things, but they never thought about taking it seriously and going back to school and getting an education in that, or being more part of the things that they love doing that gives them fulfillment and satisfaction. Social and family, what does that look like? What do you want for your children, grandchildren, yourself? If you're single, what does your partner look like? What does your partnership look like? What does your marriage look like? What are your guardrails? Do you want kids? How many? How do you want to raise them? Are you going to Who do you want their role models to be? What type of events do you want to hold? Do you want to have holidays at your house, or do you want to travel during those holidays? You got to think about this stuff. The more you plan it out, the more you're going to live right into what it is you plan. And then there's your contribution and faith. Where do you want to make a difference? What are some of your charitable causes that really hit you here, that move you? Because I will tell you, charity sometimes is super fulfilling and sometimes it's thankless. It's both. But if you care about it so much, you're not going to be doing it for the recognition. You're going to do it because that's who you are and that's what you're about. And so you're going to figure out this. You're going to figure out your faith and your walk and what you want that to look like. So here's my goals. By the way, you saw when I want mine read at age 120, and you might be like, I will tell you this. This is the truth. the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God. When I started this goal setting, I had that same mindset. When I put my first real big plan together and went all the way to the eulogy, that's when I was 30. And that's when I also came up with the fact I want to live to 120. And look, people laughed at me. They said, "Are you kidding me, Jeff? I saw you eat those French fries from McDonald's. I know you love Chicago deep dish pizza. You don't exercise as much as you should. There's no way you're living to 120." Nobody at that time, when you go back 30 years, there weren't that many people. There was the Willard Scott show or something on the news, and they'd celebrate and read the people who turned 100, and there was like a couple every show, one or two. Now they don't even have that on the program because there's so many people turning 100 every day, and there's people turning 105 and 110, and 120 is not out of the realm of possibility, especially with the advancements in technology and medicine. There's a high likelihood that if you have a little bit of resources, money, and decent health care, whether you like it or not, you're going to live way longer than you thought. So I would just plan longer. And if it gets cut short, it gets cut short. But my goals go all the way out to 120. So look, family social goals, you're going to see in my goals, I have rotated around what's important and when. And you'll see some other things and notice at the bottom, I have what I'm willing to give up and what hours I want to spend in which categories, because that's how I want my life to be. So, look, in the family and social category at the age of 90, are you kidding me? I'm not going to be doing a lot, but I do want to be pouring unconditional love into everyone I know, my friends, my family, the people that I care about, my kids, my grandkids. I think at that age, when you're 90, your friends are your family and your family are your friends. It's all one. You don't have rules, and you don't have so many rules at this stage of life. And so you're just loving on people unconditionally, giving them a good word, and being happy and trying to leave a legacy. My legacy is my big word, because I think that's everything that I do in my life is going to add up to me leaving a legacy. So I want to leave a family legacy, contribution and faith. I want to help guide my Levitan Family Foundation and leave a spiritual and contribution legacy. And the charities I've started and funded and helped, I hope that they save and help lots of lives. Personal development wise, I still want to be out there moving and grooving. They say you got a body of motion tends to stay at motion, and a body at rest tends to stay at rest. If I could be very active, I think it'll help me live a lot longer. The more you get up, the more you move, the body loves it. So I want to be in excellent health as long as I can, just like you would. I want to have a highest level of spiritual awareness and a mastery of the art of inspiring people. I think if I'm going to personally develop, it's going to be in an area that can contribute to the most lives. Business, I'm going to leave a wisdom legacy, have some books out there that people read and get inspired and want to go reach to be more, do more, and have more. Material goals, I talked about it earlier on a call. Man, there was a day and age where the Forbes richest people in the world, you didn't even have to be a billionaire. The top half were billionaires and the bottom half weren't. And now today, having 1 billion isn't a big enough. I think you need to have multiple to stand out a little bit more. And this poor kid from the south side of Chicago in one lifetime is going to die with a net worth of over $3 billion. And I got a plan of exactly how to get there. And it's not going to be about what I have, but it's going to be about the great things I do with my Dynasty Trust and how long after I pass away, I'm still contributing and making a difference. Just like John D. Rockefeller and a lot of other people who have done it right and set it up right, it carries on for generations and generations past their lifetime. And then people who don't plan, usually the first person in the family that makes the big money sacrifices for it. The second generation enjoys it, and the third generation completely blows it. And there's so many examples of wealthy, powerful families all over the world that are destitute, broke, and there is no legacy left because they didn't plan properly. So I want to leave a financial legacy. So look, you start backing down. I'm going to go through this quickly. I'm not going through all my goals with you, but if I'm going to die at age 120 with 3 billion, well, guess what? I need to have 2 by age 75. My net worth needs to be 2 at age 75. That's the science. You could backwards engineer business and material goals easily. When you get to the personal development goals, the contribution and faith goals, and the family and social goals, it's not so easy. That has a lot more to do with you constant course correction and constantly working on things that you're doing to create memories with your family, to create traditions with your family, to work on things with yourself, to prepare yourself and others around you for the future, and your contribution and faith. So, ideas for long-term goal setting, as we covered before, you might think of more details in these areas. I'm going to midterm goals. Well, you get more detailed. The closer you get to 5 years, 10 years, you could see it more clearly and your goals become better defined. You know, what are some things you want staff wise? When it comes to wealth, I always ask people, why do you want to be rich? Why do you want that money? Oh, and some people say, I'd like to do this. I want to take care of my parents. I want to do this. And I say, okay, and then what? And then what? And then what? If you go 3 degrees deep of and then what, you get to find out usually the real reason people want things and have goals. I think you want to have a happier, easier life. You get more staff around you. You got to pay for it, especially in America. I was sitting with a gentleman today. He's from Mexico, and in Mexico, he had drivers and housekeepers and all this stuff, and he doesn't have them here in America because they're way more expensive in America than they are in some of these other countries. But you can have them here. You just got to be rich. You got to have a lot of money to have a driver, a butler, a nanny, a housekeeper, and all the type of people around you that make your life bigger, better, and easier. So maybe that's something you want more than just things, right? Your business goals. You maybe can break down the metrics by a certain age. I want to be here and it needs to look like this. Maybe I will use the money from this business to invest in other businesses or other things. Maybe I'm going to take my success, I'm going to document it, and I'm going to put it into a book. And nowadays you can leverage AI to write some of your books, but you got to still, the more parameters you put on it, the more successful it's going to be. So in these areas, maybe you're going to pass on your wisdom and your success and be able to do that because there's so many ways to record and reproduce your good ideas and your methodology of becoming successful. So you got to both become successful and you've got to learn how to record it and maybe reproduce and regurgitate it to other people. Personal development, same thing. Maybe there's other cultures you want to go experience in your world travel. Maybe you need to find mentors and you put it in your goals to discover and find mentors that will help you become the type of person you want to become. In your social and family, once again, who are role models in this area for you? What are some of the families that you see that you're impressed by, that you like, and you say, I want a family like that? And no family's perfect, and some of them usually show better on the outside, and behind the scenes, a lot of them are dysfunctional and have issues. But there are families that are successful. And and what does that look like? And why are they successful? Maybe you can become a student of that and find some people that are great mentors in that area and apply that to your life. Contribution and faith, once again, you have these charitable causes. How much do you want to give? See, that's the thing with charity. A lot of people are like, hey, it's a great place to hide. I'm going to join the Peace Corps, do one of these type of things and be part of some church group. But if you don't have a metrics behind it, and you don't put a little bit of business behind that, like how much do you want to help? You got your time, you got your treasure, you got your talent. How much of those are you going to give? Like measure it. Well, this year I'm going to give $1,000. Next year I'm going to give five. The year after that I want to give 100. I want to have given away millions of dollars in my lifetime to these causes that I care about and that I like. And so I think one of your contests and measures for where you go in life isn't just going to be what you get, but what you give and how much you give and what you do, how good of a person you are. So look, maybe your midterm goals are 65, maybe your midterm goals are 30 because you're watching this in your 20. You just half the number. You take whatever it is at the end, whatever age you think it is, where you are today, cut that number in half, and that's going to be your second wave of goals. Then you cut that number in half, and that's going to be your second goals. And you're going to get it down to you're a few years out. And then you're going to be into the short-term goals. And when you get to the short-term goals, everything's going to change. And as you see these numbers start to change, what we want to do, what I want to do. I'm not going to get into myself here so much on this. I used to in great detail, but today I just want to tell you I planned these goals out, having a lot of kids in a big family when I was single and had no kids. You understand? And so you never know. And there's going to be curveballs thrown at you. You think you're doing this, and God has a different plan. They say we plan and God laughs. You still should plan. You understand? And I believe you should still know where it is you're going and you know what to do every day when you get up so you waste less time on these goals. So I'm going to keep backing it down here to some of these short-term goals. Here, when you get to short-term goals, you might get down to some of the nitty-gritty. Now you're within 5 years of what it is. You just keep backwards engineering. You're not going from here forward. If you want to master this thing, go all the way to the end and backwards. And here's why. When you hit tough times, when you get knocked off your goals, you think, I have to get back on the horse because if I don't, the whole rest of my life is going to be screwed up. The whole rest of my life is not going to add up to what I wanted to, and they are not going to read the eulogy as I wrote. They're going to throw it away, laugh at it, and come up with something way less to read at my funeral. So I must get back on the track and get going again. And so it keeps you within a corridor of your track of your life because you know that one is tied to the next and tied to the next. And whatever you don't accomplish in your short-term goals doesn't go away. It gets carried over into your next goals. Short term, I hate to, this is so crazy for me. These are my goals age 55. Are you kidding me? Now I turn 55 in October of next year, but I'll be 55 till October 25th of the following year. So I really know that my gamifying of my goals is I've got a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half to hit these goals. And look, I want to family and social is first. Attend school events, have an inner circle of friends. I love everybody, but I got to start narrowing it down who I spend my time with. I need givers, not takers around me, and I need to make sure I've got people who just love me for who I am, not what I have, and not what I can give them. People you'll find that a lot of your friends are going to be people that have a common future with you, not a common past. Look, I got some old friends from the past. I'd like to re-up those relationships and check and see, but those people better have gotten on their game and come a long way. Because if they are the same people as they were when I knew them 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we aren't going to have anything in common today. I would hope that if you saw me 3 years from now, I'm not the same person. I don't want to be the same person 3 years from now as I am today. That means I didn't grow. That means I didn't learn. If I learn a whole bunch more in the next couple of years, I should be a little bit different of a person, wouldn't you say, in these couple of years because I learned so much more. So I got a bunch of kids. Do you want to go to their school events or not? Are you going to be at their sporting events or not? Tomorrow's Friday night. One of my sons has a wrestling thing. My daughter has cheerleading. Another one has a basketball game. I got to figure out how to be in two places at two different times. I've got one of my kids coming back from Chicago and he's moving in to my friend's house. And we got so much going on. I still have a couple kids living over in Uganda that I need to get over here. I got a lot of stuff to do. But these short-term goals in the next year and a half, one of my sons is going to be graduating high school. Boy, that's going to be a big change. I want to host every holiday. This was my goal for a long time. I've got a really big house. Why do I have a big house? Because I need it? No, no one needs a really big house. I have a really big house so that every holiday we could build tradition. We can host Christmas, Easter, the most important holidays, the big ones here at our house, and our family can come in and stay. Man, we could sleep 100 people in this place, you know? And that's always been my dream, always been my goal, never wavered. And I've been in a little bit of I've been arguing a little bit lately with my spouse and partner because for some reason her family loves to travel on holidays and leave. Well, that wasn't the deal. My deal was, and this was before we were married. It's like, hey, we're hosting I had these goals the whole time. And I know things change, but look, I want to be flexible, but I want to build traditions that'll last long after I'm gone. So I'm serious about these goals. And the more you know them early, the more whoever you marry, the more your kids grow up in these things. And it really helps define a family and their goals. Business goals in the next year, sit on boards, do some private equity investing in my financial services business, produce a certain amount. Maybe start doing a little podcast. I'm not going to be on every day, the Joe Rogan show or PBD or any of these guys that I know that are maxed out. I love those guys. I don't want to do it all the way, but I think I have things to say and I got great opinions and wisdom on some things. And I think if I get the right surrounding cast, I already have a podcast studio built and ready to go. I think it'd be fun to start running the show. Um, Swag, I'm not going to get in. I want a certain group of friends, super wealth acceleration group. I want to take the people that really want to become very wealthy and take their income and their wealth from $1 million to 10 million to 100 million to a billion and get that group of people in a room. And we all share ideas, investment, and maybe we invest together on things and we grow that wealth together. Real estate deals. I'm done doing little deals. I've done really well these last 5, 10 years. I only want to do deals that produce $1 million in profit, or I don't want to do them. People come to me all the time, Jeff, we could do this, flip that. We'll each make 75 grand. Well, it ain't worth 75 grand of my time for a few months to do something. I'm at that level now where I could do the same deal somewhere else and make 1 million. So why do it's called opportunity cost. Personal development, man, I've got to get in peak physical condition. It's a must have this year. So my goals for my 1 year goals are going to be working on all of this and everything that goes along with it without getting into it. Contribution and faith. I got my All for One charity. I want to move to a board situation and get totally out of the day to day. I've done it for 25 years. I love it. I want other people to take it over and run it in their respective countries and let me coach them. That's what I want to do. I'm in Rotary. We got projects every week. I love giving back to my local community and international community with that. Um, Material goals, by the time I turn 56, my net worth is going to be 250 million, and then it's going to multiply and get me to the numbers I talked about before. Real estate investment fund, 15 mil, venture capital fund, 15. I got some other things I want to do. I'm right now measuring private flight. I was coming back from a trip this last weekend to my friend's event, and I'm on the plane train at Atlanta International Airport, shoulder to shoulder with probably a whole bunch of people that have COVID and are sick and coughing. And look, I've been sick, it's miserable, but I'm shoulder to shoulder on a train after I got off a plane where we were in a, metal tube for a few hours. And then I got to the baggage claim and then I waited out and I'm like, this is horrible. I've got the money. I need to start investigating private flight. I know a couple people that are pilots. I got to sit down with someone that knows the finances of it, can show me how to accelerate the depreciation of a plane, put it into coaching and training schools when I'm not using it to pay for itself. So that's where I'm heading in the next 2 years. These were my goals for last year. I'm willing to share this with you and let you take a peek at the end of every year. These were my goals for last year. I don't look at them too much. I'm embarrassed. I graded myself a 58%. Out of everything I set out to do last year, 58%. Business goals, it was a rough year last year. We did well, but man, did it come with so many challenges in every area. Every time I turned around, there was a new challenge. My health, once again, luckily I went in and I got with a ton of doctors. I did everything, checked my skin, colonoscopy, this, that, the other thing, head to toe checkup, found a few things, glad I found them, working on those right now, but I need to work on that. Family social goals, we did pretty good. We had fun as a family. About 80% of those goals we hit. But in personal development, I gave myself a 20. Business goals, half, maybe 50. Contribution with the charity, it was a rough year because I was busy doing the other stuff. Maybe 25% of those goals. Income, you know what? It's crazy, 90%. Made millions of dollars in business, invested millions of dollars. My investments did really good. My net worth went up. Um, that went good, but I still only hit 58% of my goals because it's not just about that. That's one piece of the pie. And so anyway, I'm back onto it. You don't have to hit all your goals, everybody. The point is you just need to have them and be working on them. So short-term goals. What are you going to do? I've got my goals now for next year, and they're very specific. Next year is going to be here, and what are we looking at here, everybody? Today's the 19th. We're less than 2 weeks out. We are coming down to 12 days away, and then it's over. And for some people, you're going to be very happy it's over, and others of you, you'll be sorry to see 2024 gone. I'm celebrating New Year's Eve that 2024 is over. And here's my goals for 2025. I'm re-upping. I shifted to my main category, my health, wellness. I'm going to become tremendously fit next year and at peace, reduce my stress, start meditating more, yoga, my body, everything. My associates, I'm going to get rid of the negative people, more positive people, improve my mentors. Social and family goals, I'm going to participate in all my kids' stuff. I'm going to get an additional executive assistant on top of the great one I have already, but I need someone to do all my travel, gifts, events, communications with people. Um, I got a part-time person now. I probably need two people to do this stuff for me, to free me up to focus on the bigger things and also not miss anything. Establish my inner circle of friends, and then list all my family vacations. Um, I'm gonna rent a private jet this year with my family and take them on one trip so I can test private travel and see how it is. Get all my family on a private jet, go somewhere for a week. I know it's going to cost 30 grand for the flight, whatever it is, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to see how it feels. I'm going to love it. I know I will. And then I'm going to figure out how to do it a little more often and a little more often and afford it. Business, man, I got big goals for all the businesses I'm an investor in. I've got probably 20 businesses that I'm an investor in. Some of them I'm actively participating and helping, and other ones I'm total a passive investor. So I'm helping stand up companies and investing in them and building companies. I've got a lot of private equity investing. I'm going to dig in with my team and try to improve all my investments and make sure that they're successful exits. I'm going to try to get a new book out this next year, launch swag, start a podcast, and I think it's going to be a great 2025. Contribution and faith. Want to raise $1 million in All for One, create an endowment fund, partner with some donor advised funds, and make sure I lock and load that thing for the long term. With Rotary, I want to take 3 to 4 trips. I'll give 10 to 20 grand to them just as a side thing for local things, attend 6 big charity events in Atlanta, and attend church, get back to going to church on a regular basis. Income, financial services, 12 million this year, other businesses too, real estate and K1s and my rents, 5 million investments in ROI on my investments, all the investment money I have out there, another 5. If things go well, that's 24 million coming in, investments, 15 million on the out. I will spend millions of dollars in taxes. Um, I hope there's a massive change and they come up with a flat tax and fire the IRS. I don't know what's going to happen, but I've been paying 7 figures uh, as my contribution for years, um, every single year. So some people are like, man, I'd like to make $1 million a year. Imagine cutting a check to your mortal enemy, someone you absolutely hate, for 7 figures. I'd rather give it all to charity than give it to the IRS. But anyway, that's what I do. I got to do my part. And then I know exactly what I want my net worth to be at the end of next year. So there's the goals. Look at the bottom. I'm going to dedicate 20 hours a week to personal development, 50 hours a week to my family and social, 40 hours a week to business, 10 hours a week to my contribution and faith. That's changed every year. By the way, here's my 6 month goals. If I do what I want to do by the end of the year, this is where I need to be by June 30th. I broke it down to there. And then I've got goals that go down to March 31st, January 31st. And so I'm going to be looking at every day. Some people, let me stop sharing for just a minute here. Oh, I got to go back. Sorry. Um, boom. So let me stop my share for a minute. And I might stop, take a breath, come up for air. It's 8:30. We've been on for 90 minutes. I'll be done in 30 minutes, I promise. This is only your whole entire life we're planning out. You understand? I know it's a couple hours. My God, remember we talked at the beginning about you having a attention span, and most people, I know myself included, like if it doesn't catch my attention in 30 seconds, I'm off. So some of you turned your cameras off. Thank you. And you're on mute. I appreciate the, not hearing you snoring. But I do hope that some of you are enjoying this and getting a lot out of it. I'm not attached to the result. That's the one thing about happiness. I have found a lot of my joy comes from I'm giving, and if you take it, wonderful. If you don't, wonderful. If you tell me it was tremendous, thank you. If you told me that it was horrible, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm not attached to the result on this. I'm just trying to help some friends, get some ideas so that you can have a more accomplished life and like I did. And so, look, I break these goals down, and what I read every day, some people are like, Jeff, if you have all these goals written down, which I do, by the way, I've got it digitally and I've got all the stuff I tell you. Some of you that know me, I've got this big old fashioned book. This is my goal setting. People are like, what type of calendar do you use? A Google calendar or what kind of calendar? I'm like, an old fashioned paper one with highlighters. And they laugh at me, but that shows my age. I do have a Google calendar and I do accept things and it goes in my phone, but I love this. Here's why. There's my personal mission statement. There's my eulogy. Here's my goals by age 120. This is no joke. It's all in here. I carry it with me. Do I read it all day? No, because if I read it all every day, I would never get to my day. But what do I read every day? You're going to find out in a minute what I read every day. This is what's going to help you out. You got to have those. You know when I read all those? On Sunday. You know how you get that lull Sunday afternoon? If you go to church, maybe it's after church and after lunch. If you don't go to church, it's somewhere after one of the football games, somewhere, right around 4or 5 o'clock before the evening games. It's just a lull. Pull out your goals, read them all, and you'll be fired up and ready for the week. So let me get back to sharing my presentation here. So um, let's talk about this. The value of time. Some people waste time. Man, I talk to people all the time, and I don't know why. My skin starts to crawl. I start to get itchy if I'm wasting too much time because I understand how valuable it is. And Think and Grow Rich, page 36, it's famous. Most of you have heard of it before. It says you have to determine exactly what you intend to give in return for your desires. There's no such reality as something for nothing. What you're going to give up to achieve your goals is your most precious asset. It's not your money, it's not your jewelry, it's your time. You can't get any more of it. They're not making any more of it for you. And just think of how much time is wasted. It's in the math. Do you know if you slept? Some people go, Jeff, I don't have enough time. You ever have someone give you the excuse? The most popular excuse ever right now is what? I'm busy, right? Don't people? I'm slammed. I'm super busy. Sorry, I'll get back to you later. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I don't have the time to do it. I would do this, but I don't have the time. I don't have the time. Well, let me find you some time. If you sleep 1 hour less a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year, you sleep one less hour, you just picked up 365 hours. I just found you some time. You know what else? If you normally you sleep 8 hours and you're awake 16, so take the 365 divided by 16, and guess what? Roughly, you just picked up 22 days, awake days, by picking up 365 hours of being awake. You just picked up 22 days a year. And you know what? Do the math. That means you get one entire extra year every 16 years. And if you live to 100, I just found you 6.25 more years to do your goals, to do whatever it is you want to do. Don't tell me you don't have enough time. Stop wasting that time and reinvest it in the right place. You have plenty of time to do what's important to you. See, here's what I've learned. When people say I don't have time, Everyone has the same amount. We all have exactly the same amount of time. And most people have time for the things that they think are important. And if someone tells you they don't have the time, I hate to tell you this, it's going to break your heart. They don't think what you're offering is important. Whatever it is, they must not think it's that important. You have not made it clear enough that it should be a priority and that they should sacrifice other things for what your thing is because your thing is better and worth it more. That's all. That's what it comes down to. It really isn't that they don't have the time. You know, to realize the value of a year is one of my favorite things. Realize the value of a year, ask a student who failed a grade how much 1 year made a difference. To realize the value of a month, ask a mother who gave birth to a premature baby how much a month is worth. To realize the value of a week, ask the editor of a weekly newspaper how big of a deal 1 week is. To realize the value of an hour, ask those people who are in love waiting to see each other how long that 1 hour of waiting is. Realize the value of a minute, ask the person who missed the train by a minute. Realize the value of a second, ask someone who just avoided a fatal car accident how that 1 second they turned off. You ever look up and maybe you look down for a second, look up, everyone stopped, and you do one of these and you end up on the shoulder? Imagine what 1 second difference could be life or death. And realize the value of a millisecond, ask the person who won a silver medal in the Olympics instead of the gold. Do you ever see the racing things in the Olympics where they break it down to the hundredth or thousandth of a second? And you're like, oh man, how do you even train for that fast twitch muscle to get an extra 1/100th of a second difference between a gold and a bronze and a silver medal at the Olympics? Well, so some people who are like, hey, I watched Netflix last year in 2024. I watched this series, this series, this series. And you're looking at a guy who loves some of these series, but imagine you may have spent hundreds of hours being entertained on television, or you're on your phone scrolling social media for hundreds of hours. This is the danger, my friends. The danger today is that you forfeit living life to watching some virtual reality of life or somebody else's life. You're watching someone else's life unfold on reality TV. You're watching other people's lives on social media, or you're watching really cool movies and series on Netflix and Prime and Hulu and blah, blah, and Peacock and all the other ones. And you're giving up what? You're giving up your life. You're giving up your experiences. You're giving up your life to just be entertained visually. Think about that as we move forward. So, time management. I had a dream. I feel like Martin Luther King here. Had a dream. And my dream was when I got started in financial services back in 1995, I was putting 100 hours a week into work. All my hours. People are like, how many hours did you put in when you started? All of them. I literally breathe, sleep, eat my business. And the good thing was it wasn't forever. It paid off. 5 years later, I was a millionaire forever. Never again was I not a millionaire after 5 years of going all in to the right thing. But I knew I wasn't doing that forever. I wasn't going to become one of these workaholics. I also understood that if I build up wealth, that someday my money will work for me harder than I work for me, and that my pile of money will out earn me every single year. That's true wealth. And then I'll build up and mentor and pour into people that'll go after achieving their goals and dreams. And if I get a little override on that, that'll take care of me many, many times over. So this was my vision. If you look, business goals, man, 1996, my business goals. By the way, if you sleep 7 hours a night and you're awake the rest, you have 119 awake hours per week to divide up amongst four categories that I have in my goal setting. You don't have time really in your material goals unless you are a day trader and you do trading and investing. Well, then that would be in a business goal, not so much materials, what you have. all the other four categories are where you divide up your time. And I had a dream that I'm going to go put all the hours in at the beginning of business so that later it could be less. And my goals right now are 40 hours a week, is the most I want to work to make $24 million this next year. That's way too much. It's not fair. That's too much money for too little work. Well, guess what happened in 96? I put in 100 hours a week for 146 grand that year, which was a lot of money. And the year before, I had a job that paid me about 40, 50 grand and my business. So for under 100,000, I worked over 100 hours a week then too. But see, this is what I want to instill in the younger people's minds on this call. All these four categories are not created equally. See, one of them compounds. If you get the money and the business set early, it'll grow by itself and use the rule of 72 and compounding, and it'll just finally keep growing and doing what it's supposed to do over time. Your personal development isn't really going to be that way. Let's just say you're talking about your body. Sometimes you're going to be in peak shape, and sometimes you're going to lose it a little bit. And then sometimes you're going to get it back, and you're going to stay within a corridor of health, of being either really super healthy or maybe not as healthy, but you're going to stay within this range your whole life. Contribution and faith. Sometimes you'll be on your walk with your God, and sometimes you're going to be a little bit off of it and it'll get challenged, but you'll probably stay within a corridor your whole entire life. I'm strong in my belief, strong in my faith. I'm giving back, I'm doing this, and I'm not so strong. I'm not doing as much as I should. I should do that. Your relationships, sometimes they're going to be awesome. You're going to be in such lockstep with your friends and your partner and your spouse and your kids. And sometimes it's going to be challenged. You're going to not be getting along. You're going to be fighting, and it's going to be here, and you're going to have to work on it to get it back there. But it's going to stay within a range your whole life. So the contribution and faith is going to stay within a range, probably. Family and social is going to stay within a range, and personal development is, but not material and business. Those, you get it set young and early, and just do the math. This should keep growing and growing. You know, the last doubling, if you're going to double your money, the last one's where it all comes in big, but you didn't do any more on the fifth doubling than you did the first one. It just has taken off. And so think about that. And that's why I believe people always say, Jeff, I want to live a balanced life. And by the way, I would see why you'd want to. Why wouldn't you want to live a balanced life? But I will tell you this. I believe if you're still young and you're on this call and you're youthful and you have a lot of years ahead, it's worth it to be a little unbalanced towards getting the money thing taken care of early in life. Imagine how much better your contributions are going to be, your family vacations are going to be, the food you eat and the medical care you get if you're financially secure versus not. See, a lot of people want all these things to be balanced early, and I think you got to go way tilted towards getting the financial part of your life totally taken care of early. It's my opinion, so that it'll take care of all those other categories the rest of your life. And you still don't have problems. A lot of people think, well, rich people don't have problems. Of course they do. They've got bigger problems that somehow are reflective of the life they're living. If you're living a huge life, you got huge problems sometimes. But I will tell you, money's not going to be one of them. It's just one less problem to worry about. And you can make way better decisions when you're financially secure. You can do the right thing every single time, and you can help where you see fit. And you could be like a little version of a superhero just by having a great financial situation to a lot of people in life. So you look at these, and I planned to have my hours go down. By the time I'm 55, which happens to be next year, I don't know if I'm going to 20 hours a week, but I'm definitely going down to 30. I might adjust that. So here I'll be making tens of millions of dollars, working 30 hours a week. I'm probably going to extend and take my Fridays off and just come in Monday through Thursday, and then pretty soon I'm not going to come in all day Monday through Thursday. I'll come in after traffic dies down on those days, and I'll leave a little bit earlier and make it home for dinner every single night. And that's it. The evenings and the weekends, I'll leave that for the young people. I'll spend all that time doing what I enjoy with the people I love and still bring in tens of millions of dollars. Do you understand? But I will have earned it because I sacrificed early. Then I'm going to take those extra hours and pour it into my family and my give back programs and leaving that legacy I want to leave. Let's talk about getting more done in the day. Pre-vacation checklist. How many of you been on vacation before? You ever go out of town on vacation? Some of you are getting ready to go out of town on this Christmas holiday and you make a list, the proverbial pre-vacation checklist. Man, we got to drop off the dog. We have to leave the dog with someone else or in the kennel. I got to go and stop by the bank and get cash. I need to go stop at the store and pick up supplies. We need provisions for this trip. I need to get the car checked out or the van and make sure that the oil is good and the tires are filled up and get in front of the mechanic. And you plan all these things out. And it's usually a big long list before you leave vacation for a week or two. And guess what? You get that list written down. For most people that are not planners, everyone has done this before. And what's interesting is they list it out, they map it out, they make sure even as they're driving the day before they go that they don't crisscross across town. They actually have to plan a map. Well, I'm going to start on this side of town and get this done. Then I'm going to go here up north. Then I'm going to go this way. I don't want to miss traffic. I want to miss traffic, so I got to come around this way. And they map it out, they plan it out, and boy, they hit that checklist. As long as they're going down that day and they look at their phone and they're really chatty friends calling and they're like, well, I don't have time to chat now. I'll do it tomorrow when I'm on vacation. And they refuse the phone call because you know what? You don't have the time to waste that day. It's too much. You're going to get back to them people later. And most people at the end of that day get it all done and they're proud. And they look at that list and they say, man, I can't believe I did all of this in a day. And they say, I did more in one day than I normally get done in a week. So proud of myself. Look, honey, look how much I got done. And they're bragging about it and everybody's happy. And then they say, what if you did that? What if you made the list, had a checklist every day before you went to bed? What if you did it every day for a week? If you did more in a day than you normally do in a week, could you possibly, if doing it every day for a week, get done more in a week than you normally do a month? Of course you can. And then what if you did it for a month? You were just disciplined enough, 30 days, you did it for a whole month. Is it possible that you could get more done in a month than you normally do a quarter? In a quarter, as much as you do in a year? And then if you really did this for a year, is it possible you could do more in a year than you normally would do in five? And that in a 5-year window, you could do more than most people would accomplish in a 30-year career? The answer is yes. You're looking at living proof right here. My first 5 years I was mega disciplined in my list. I never went to bed without a list. I never got up and just winged the day. And I did it, and I was able to stay on top of that for about a good 5 years. And I accomplished a lifetime of accomplishments and work that were to take care of me and thousands of other people for the rest of my life in 5 years by doing this method. And that's why you should never go to bed without your next day planned. When you get off this phone, what are you doing the rest of the day? Wait, before you go to bed, I still old school. I know you guys all have your phones, and most of you might scroll before you go to bed and be looking at social media or whatever. I would keep a little piece of paper, a little pad folio next to your bed, and make sure, even if you can't plan out your eulogy, it's too big to think about where you're going to be at age 70 or 80. I get it. That's difficult. But you know what's not difficult? Writing down the top 4 things you need to get done tomorrow to move your life forward. And then you get up and you don't waste time on the noisy things. You don't get distracted by people's phone calls or emails or texts. Every single day, I get texts and emails that I believe are demonic and want to throw me off of my goals and my schedule. The people that send them are demonic, but I know that message, if I get off of my goal, if I get off of my priority and start dealing with that, I'm not going to be who I want to be. They're not reading my eulogy at the end of my life. So I see that it's there, but I don't look at it until I'm done with my priorities each day. I've got calls to make, people to see, things to do, and I do that first every day. And then I'll get back to your problems, your needs, whatever you have a question on. I'll get to that afterward. And I take complete ownership in where I end up in life by controlling my priorities, and I don't let other people control my life. The one area I've never given up to any assistant, and I've had great assistants, I've never given up my schedule to anybody. Nobody else gets to give my time but me. Why? Because it's the most important thing I have. You need to have hours of operation for your business, especially if you're an entrepreneur. A lot of people, they do business when it's convenient. Well, I'm going to do it around my schedule. I have a regular job, but the evenings, weekends, sometimes when it's convenient, spare time, I don't know, it's not going to work. You're not going to be accomplished. You need to treat your business like a business. If you have a business out there, so this is a better call. So we could be talking about better. If you're just going to wing it and hope to run into a client every once in a while and make some money better, fine. That's okay. But if you treat it more like a real business and you have a certain number of hours per day or certain days a week or certain time on the weekend where you're actually going to reach out and make calls and talk to individuals and businesses and families, I think you can make as much money as you want to make and build whatever kind of business you want to build. But you can't do it when it's convenient because nothing ever is convenient anymore in today's day and age. Mission statement. So if your goals are what you're going to do and accomplish, your personal
You're going to do it.
mission statement is who you want to be. So your personal mission statement describes who you are, who you're being at any given time. And the question becomes, are you proud of who you're being? Have you ever gotten in an argument with a loved one and said things you regret? And then afterwards, you're like, man, I hate when I lose my temper. I hate when I say things like that. I don't know why I have such a sharp tongue. I shredded that person, or I said something I can't take back to my friend. Now the cat's out of the bag, whatever it is. And you ask yourself, I don't like that version of me. There is a perfect version of ourselves that we love, we know we want to be. And that's what your personal mission statement is. There's all the goals of things you want to do, achieve, but then there's who you want to be on a daily basis, especially as it pertains to other people. And so your mission statement should be who you want to be. And if you're around me all day, you're going to laugh at this personal mission statement. You're like, Jeff's not like that every day. Of course I'm not. But this is who I would like to be every day of my life. I know who I want to be. And I know when I'm this way, I love myself the most. And I appreciate it. In the land of darkness, I must be a light for others to follow. Through considerate reason, empathetic passion, unconditional love, and being a successful example, I create possibility and unleash the hope, courage, and faith in all of those people I interact with. That's who I want to be. Those key words, unconditional love. Man, I hate when it's conditional. Hey, as long as you kids are acting right, man, I'm going to be very happy with you. Well, I got to love them unconditionally. They're kids. Empathetic passion. I want my heart to feel what your heart's feeling and be passionate about the things you're passionate about. I want to considerately reason why people do what they do and say what they say and act like they act. And wherever they are, I want to get into their shoes. But most importantly, after an interaction with me, I want you to have more hope. I want you to have more courage and more faith, and I want you to just go for it more. If your interaction with me creates that in you, I feel like it's been a successful interaction, and that's who I want to be, inspiration to other people. Be, do, have. What are some characteristics of who I want to be? I want to authentic, relatable people like Jeff, for how successful you are, you're really down to earth. I choose to be that way. I want to remain down to earth. I don't want to be impressive to people, although I may or may not be. I want to be relatable. I want you to see yourself and me and people I coach. I want them to say, I like that guy. He seems pretty normal. And if he could do it, I could do it. That's what I want. Authentic, relatable, passionate, kind, fun, loving, visionary, generous, courageous. There it is. So get your action verbs together, decide, you know, what adjectives are going to describe you and decide who you want to be. And you're not always going to be that way. But if I read this on the regular basis and I go, look, I'm not being generous, I'm being selfish. Well, maybe I turn around and I read this and I start giving more. Maybe I'm been mad and mean to people, grouchy. And I'm like, I'm supposed to be fun, loving, and kind. Boy, that's not this. I'm not being that guy. I need to shift this up a little bit and get back to who I want to be. I don't know what's bringing me down, but I got to get back to this kind, fun, loving Jeff. You know what I mean? And so you're the same way, but you got to make a decision about who you want to be, get it on paper, and then there's your point of reference. This is the thing you read every day, not where you want to be at age 120. That's what you read when you got some time. It's important, but this is at least no matter what's happening in the world, sometimes you're achieving all your goals, sometimes you're not achieving any of them, but at least you're being who you want to be in the meantime. You have to have a vision board. You've got to have in your mind's eye what it is you want to see. There's so many studies done that if you have a dream of a certain car, if you go and you drive it, touch it, feel it, smell it, the more of your senses you engage, the more likely you are to achieve whatever it is your goal is. So if you have a vision, if you're single and don't have kids and you have a vision, I always had a vision of a multi cultural family. Why? Because when I was 30 years old, I started traveling all over the world and I knew. I started in Nicaragua in Central America. Then I went to the islands and then I was in Asia. And I'm like, man, I love all these kids. And I could see myself with a family of all different kids from all over the world. And sure enough, man, here we are. And so look, I've got this vision, and it's sometimes hard to let go of a vision when you've got it and you've had it for a long time. So make a vision board and then seek fulfillment, not just accomplishment. Secret to life, whoever spends the most time in their life in a state of joy and fulfillment wins. If you want to win the contest of life, it's not who has the most money and the biggest house or whatever. It's the person who spends the most moments in a state of fulfillment and joy. So, what does that beg the question? What makes you feel a sense of fulfillment? You know, um, there's some quotes for this. Focus on your true purpose of life and stop focusing on other people's flaws, mistakes, and failures. The fulfillment of your positive purpose on earth truly needs your undivided attention. Success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. Tony Robbins. Doing what you like is freedom, liking what you do is happiness. True fulfillment comes from helping others. True success, true happiness lies in freedom and fulfillment. Happiness is a state of inner fulfillment. I can't say it enough. What you should be seeking is not wealth, power, fame. You should be seeking fulfillment, everybody. I've just figured this out over time. It's not the pursuit of happiness that we find fulfillment, it's in the happiness of pursuit. And that's why you keep working. A lot of people say, well, man, if you find what you do and you love what you do, you're not working anyway. And so that's why the pursuit of your goals should bring you joy and happiness. I love the fact if you gave me everything on my list 20 years ago, I'd be lost. I would be absolutely lost. I love the hunt. I love the pursuit. I like fishing. Fishing is one of my hobbies. Why? It's the anticipation of what might be. If you just take all the fish out of the lake and throw them in my boat, that's not fun fishing. You understand? It's the pursuit. So you'll never grow to your fullest potential and you plant the seed until you plant the seeds of joy, love, fulfillment, hope, and success. Nature can only return to you what you plant. Keep in mind that you'll have true happiness, true fulfillment, not living to get, but living to give. So anyway, man, we got a lot of quotes there. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple tips before we wrap up, but we are wrapping up. I call it the fruitful four. Before you go to bed, write down 4 things that you must get done the next day. 4 things that just must get done the next day. You can make a list of 10 if you want, but circle the top 4. And that's what you get up and get after in the morning. You don't get up and check your phone, start answering emails and text messages, because here's what most people do. They get into the busyness and the noisiness of the day, and they never get around to the things that really move their life forward. And they always push it off till tomorrow, and then the next day and the next day. And they never get to it. If you start with the things that change your life, and then you use your extra time to try to accomplish many other things that you can or may do, those are the things that should roll into the next day, not your priorities. And then I'm going to end with this. We're all given a gift of a short, finite, precious life on this earth. Every one of you are precious, and your life is shorter than you think. And shouldn't we live that life on purpose? So there you are, everybody. There's the course. There's the short version of it, less than 2 hours. I wanted to get as much in as I can for you going into Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas next week and a Happy Hanukkah if you're Jewish and whatever faith you have. I hope you enjoy your family next week. I hope you love on your family. You share unconditional love with friends, eat good food, and you think about and reflect on 2024. You think about not only 2025, but you use the quiet moments to think about your whole life, your whole future, what you want it to add up to, what you want to be remembered for. There will be a day a group of people are gathered around you, and you're not going to be here anymore. And they're going to be sharing stories about what you did or didn't do, what you accomplished or didn't accomplish, how you made them feel. People certainly remember more about how you made them feel than anything else. So remember that in all your interactions with people. And I just wish you the greatest lives ever. Go live your life on purpose, with purpose, and go have a fulfilling, successful life. God bless all of you. I'm going to turn it back over. If Curtis has any last minute things to say before we wrap this up, and I wish you all the best. I hope you got. Oh, by the way, some of you are on the pro program. Is that right, Curtis? Some
That's
people
right.
here.
That's right.
I'm going to do you a favor tonight only. You're going to get a Ginsu knife. No, I'm kidding. Here's what's going to happen for those of you that are on the 15 a month program.
90-day LA fitness membership, right?
That's
Credit card
right. This
deposit.
today
Yeah,
only
the whole thing.
jelly of the month club you guys are going to get entered into. No, listen. On Monday the 30th. This is not for everybody. You have to be on the $15 a month pro. We are going to vet you out for this one. I let a lot of people in on this one. The other one, I'm not. I'm going to do a hour, just 1 hour. I can't do much more than that. It's on the 30th, next month, Monday the 30th. Let's just say, man, I don't want to. I'm going to do it a little earlier because most of you should be on break. If you're not, you're not. I'm sorry. But I'm going to do it during the day, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. I'm picking it because it's my time. And I'm going to give you an hour. Okay. And who knows if I get into it, I always say that. And then I'm like,
It's
okay,
never an
one more
hour.
thing. And it turns into 90 minutes or 2 hours. But for those of you that are on the $15 a month, I just want to thank you. You know, we went through a transition. Yes, Better was supposed to be completely free. It just wasn't a sustainable model. Look, that's how business goes. We start one way and the middle doesn't look like the beginning and the end doesn't look like the middle. But I want to just appreciate you. So I'm going to give you some time for Q&A on living life on purpose on the 30th with me at 2 o'clock. We'll
Two
send an invite
o'clock
out
my time or our
specifically to
time.
the people. I know someone's flying to Spain. Oh, we feel so sorry for you. You're flying to Spain. Take me with you, please. Anyway, so 2 o'clock p.m. Monday the 30th. I'll go for an hour or two, and we'll do Q&A for whoever's on there. If there's 5 people on there, you get me for an hour. If there's 30, well, it's going to be less, but bring your questions and I will help you. Yes, Chris, it's Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard. So that's 1 o'clock Central. And, you know, you could do the math on the West Coast and whether you're Mountain or Pacific time. Okay. So I'm going to do the Q&A LLOP for you on the 30th. All right. God bless all of
Perfect.
you and appreciate all of you too. Curtis, I'm turning it back over. I'm going on mute.
Thanks, Jeff. Beautiful. I know that many of you are probably just like me with your notebook of notes, or like Jeff said, your you got your phone doing your note taking on there. But however you did it, I hope you got a ton of value out of this and recognize really what a special thing is this is to even have this level of access to someone like this. Like I don't know, how many people do you know that have the goal in their life stated as such that they want to, make that kind of impact. So if you want to make that kind of impact, obviously take what you are laying out today and translate it into action. Translate your planning and your decision making into a 2025 that would make you proud, would make the younger version of yourself proud. And, I hope that with that we can all bring about kind of this better life, not just for ourselves, but for our communities, clients we have. Jeff obviously he nailed me very exactly. Yes, it is obviously very true. I have honed very tightly in on the better income side, but he's right. For anyone who's looking to live that better life or make a better life for other people, it is also very hard to do that until you've really mastered the income side. It is very true. So I hope that we can all get to this same level that Jeff's at. And I know we can with better and some of the companies that we're all working together with here. So I don't want to take any more time. I don't think there's anything I could say that would shed any more light than what Jeff just spent the last couple hours talking about. So have an absolutely amazing weekend. I'll see some of you tomorrow on Sales Huddle, and have an amazing holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever else you celebrate. Thank you so much for taking the time. Translate this into life-changing action. That's all. Your call to action, because I don't think you should ever have a training where you don't end it with a call to action. Figure out how this translates into massive life-changing action for you. So with that, have an excellent night. Happy holidays, and plan that new year to be something that you can be proud of. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next call. Thank you.